All right. Well, welcome to a special. Nope, starting over. Got to edit. I don't know if I'm in a bad mood tonight or what, but I have a 2.75 out of 5. This is one of the worst beers I've ever had in terms of on this podcast.
Stand by, going to air.
Stand by, film.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
Fish are friends, not food.
Make it Centauri time.
Too much iron in your blood.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Hey, what happened?
Let's fly! Let's get pissed and watch boom. Hello, you got a base.
Are you saying there's something wrong with my gear?
We're going streaking!
He found me!
He's doing his Superman thing.
I still only counts as one!
Why is the rum always gone?
Okay, well, welcome to a brand new episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. We are a podcast dedicated to rewatching movies from at least 2 decades ago, while simultaneously enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And we are coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. On this episode, we are going to be re-watching our first Quentin Tarantino film, I believe.
Yes.
And our first martial arts film, kind of a combo platter. And we are going to be rewatching 2003's Kill Bill, Volume 1. Before we jump in, though, we typically discuss some more modern choices that we have watched recently, either TV or film. I really didn't have much. You do, and we'll talk about it in a second. I did watch 1883. That's a very depressing show.
Sure.
There's not a lot of... It's very well done, but very, very depressing.
Isn't the one with Harrison Ford?
No, that's
or is
1923.
I get the numbers mixed
Tim
up.
McGraw and Faith Hill.
Oh, gotcha.
And so, yeah, basically, spoiler alert, everybody just freaking dies. That's what it is.
It's even harder conditions.
I know.
Back in
This
the
is like
1800s.
Oregon Trail on more typhoid. Like, it's just...
So much dysentery.
So much. Yeah. So anyway, which spare a thought for what dysentery, like all the ways that people died, and then we're playing like a video game in the 80s, like your ancestors
Mocking.
shit themselves to death. Like
mocking their destruction.
They drank terrible water.
Sorry.
Just died in a heap, crying themselves to
Enjoy
death.
your wonderful water you have.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Oh, spoiled water. You're an idiot. That's really all I had. So what do you got, Tim?
I was able to catch up on a summer movie that you had seen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I watched it with the kids and Ellen and thoroughly enjoyed it. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated film Mutant Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that listened to an earlier podcast around our affinity for and love of the new Spider-Verse movie.
Sure.
That was incredible. This was like a close second.
Yeah.
In terms of the creativity, the interest, the story, the humor. Kids loved it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Ellen and I were laughing the entire time. It was really freaking good.
Yeah.
And I know you had seen it and had rave reviews about it too. And I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it. But yeah, it was really, really good.
It's the humor that sets it apart. And I think from Spider-Man, not to say that there's not funny, like fun, whatever, teenage angsty kind of stuff on Spider-Man. But we also recently watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yes.
And I think that's what, when movies like that have really well done humor.
Yeah.
Without being like forced or slapsticky or anything like that. Boy, it just adds another level to it. And I think that's what, because like D&D has no business being as good as that is.
It's so good.
And kind of TMNT also, you're kind of like, this really has no business being this. I should not be this invested in this story.
Right.
And about turtles, because what they do is they make them actual teenagers.
Yes.
That's the key difference in this movie than any other.
Yep.
Like all
the voices
other
are young.
The Turtles movies, they always seem like they're in their upper 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not teenagers. These guys are teenagers. They want to go to school. Well, they want to be amongst other kids. They don't want to go to school necessarily.
True.
Well, they do, but I have a teenager and he doesn't want to go to school. So, but that's what they want. They have this sort of like, and then they have crushes and they have this like feeling of like anxiety or whatever it is. Like they have real teenage feelings. And
they're figuring out they're fighting.
Yeah.
That's what's great about it.
Yeah.
Is that it's not like we're well-established ninja masters. It's like, no, they're still figuring it out. So
yeah, they do a really good
recommend.
job of making it kind of I don't want to say coming of age, but they make it a fun teenage movie kind of a thing, but with some really great humor.
Yes, and heart and connection. And so it was, we've seen the origin stories for those who have seen that the show or the movies before, but they do a great job of adding to it with this, that I thought it wasn't just like a rehash from before. So
they show the origin with the villain that crosses over at the same time. Like it's not just an origin story.
Yes.
Like Secret of the Ooze.
True. Yeah, exactly. It was
go
great.
Go ninja, go.
They use that. I mean,
they
have a wink to the audience. It's really good. Highly recommend if you have kids at
absolutely
a young age as well as yourself. It's really stinking good.
Yeah, I watched it by myself. I mean, that's fine.
It's good. So yeah.
All right. Well, as mentioned on this episode, we are going to be rewatching Kill Bill Volume 1. The film is a Tarantino homage to the classic martial arts films of the past, but told with his singular modern style and through a series of vignettes, as he is known to do. Our central character is known simply as the Bride. She is betrayed by her former team of assassins, yet somehow survives the attack, though her unborn child does not. She wakes up after a 4-year coma and goes on a revenge killing spree in a search for her former leader and lover, Bill. The film was written and directed by Tarantino and stars Uma Thurman, David Carradine, Daryl Hannah, Michael Madsen, Lucy Liu, and Vivica A. Fox.
Excuse me here. What are the Japanese? Do you know?
Oh, let's see. Arigato?
Arigato. Good.
I already said domo, right?
Yeah.
Konnichiwa?
Konnichiwa. Please repeat.
Konnichiwa.
Perfect. Good. You say Japanese word like you Japanese.
Oh, now you're making fun of me.
No. Serious business. Pronunciation very good. You say arigato? Like we say arigato.
Well, thank you. I mean, arigato.
なんだっけ? Oh, first time in Japan?
Uh-huh.
Oh. What brings you to Okinawa?
I came to see a man.
Oh, yeah. You have a friend living Okinawa?
Not quite.
Not friend?
I never met him.
Never? Who is he? May I ask?
Hattori Hanzo.
Our first segment, as always, is Drinking Buddies.
Come on, not my fucking beer.
Where we present the beers we will be drinking while rewatching our subject film. As our name would suggest, we cover 4 beers. Tim will be walking us through our buddies for tonight, so take it away, Tim.
Our first one tonight is from Odell Brewing Company out west. Sorry, Fort Collins, Colorado.
That is west.
It is. Yeah. It's like, well, I didn't forget where. Yes, west in Colorado. It's their Harvest Fresh limited release IPA. And you and I have long lamented many times this time of year, you were used to like fresh hop beers.
Yeah.
And I just can't find them. Or if you do, like, there's a 2-day window where you might find it at the liquor store and you miss out. So I'm usually somewhat hesitant around like mass produced.
I was gonna say
big
like,
ones
I
sent
love
out.
It says limited release, but
yes.
It's Odell.
It says like unparalleled freshness from field to pellet in 36 hours. So we'll see. But it's their Harvest Fresh IPA. So I'm hopeful that it'll work.
Yeah.
Then we have gonna pour one out.
Oh yeah.
For
one for me,
probably one of
my
homies.
One for me. And one for my homies.
One of, I think, despite how many maybe not challenges we've had with it, but like maybe the pompousness of it.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
One of the early ones in the cities
Around here, yeah.
Dangerous Man Brewing,
Yep.
which had their final week this past week, I think it was, in their only brewery in Northeast Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Always a tight squeeze in there. This former bank, but it was always packed, no matter what.
It was always packed. Yeah, it's a little
It's
surprising.
insane.
I mean, they didn't close for business reasons. They
No, it
closed for
was
personal
kind of like the
reasons.
least,
And the tap room is closed. They are still going to be brewing and releasing.
which they were one of the like latest into the canning
Yeah.
market. It felt like, which probably was maybe a writing on the wall from them, like, oh, this lease is going to get sold, so we might want to get canned out there.
Yep.
So they did a good job with that. But we're having, in honor of our friends at Dangerous Man, their Straw Perry Sour. I almost cracked it. I'm like, no,
I don't, yeah.
wait,
dude.
we're going to have them right away.
Come on.
And then we have, out of Superior, Wisconsin, Earth Rider Brewing, their Coffee Pale Ale. I'm very curious about this. So I had seen it and I was like, I'm used to like lagers or kind of like a golden ale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's be a hoppy coffee. Anyway, we'll see. But it's
Yeah.
their Coffee Pale Ale. And then Central Waters out of Wisconsin, Amherst specifically,
Mm-hmm.
their Satin Solitude Imperial Stout, which as the weather this weekend is shifting real hard
Yeah, we are.
towards winter. This is one of my favorites every year of a standout for me. So I haven't had it since probably this time last year.
Yep.
So I'm excited to have it again. But those are our drinking buddies.
Yeah. We have some delays oftentimes in editing and releasing. So we're recording the last weekend in October just for reference.
Yes.
I think at some point I'll have to like
Context.
throw a recorded date on some of these.
Recorded on this day.
All right. So thank you, sir. That brings us to the social network
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
where we take a look back at the critical and fan reception from 20 years ago. Tim takes point on these. So Tim, what did the critics and fans say?
So for Volume 1, the IMDb rating is 8.2 out of 10. Pretty high for ones we've seen.
Yeah, that's about as high as, I mean,
It's like, I think over 8.
Like 8.4 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Truman Show was 8.2. So Jeff or Geoff Pavert of Toronto Star, what a wonderful French. Geoff Pavert said, not only is this the work of a major and vital talent in full bloom, speaking of Tarantino, the director and writer, Kill Bill Volume 1 is the most thrillingly entertaining American movie so far this year, of 2003. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly said, Kill Bill Volume 1 may have little on its mind besides pop extravagance, yet you can feel the movie tracing a transition in the world, from west to east, from male to female rule. And Ebert, care to guess?
I'd say 4.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Tarantino. He loved him.
Been 6-year absence since he came out. So yeah, 4 out of 4. So the film shows director Tarantino effortlessly and brilliantly in command of his technique. The film is not really about anything at all except the skill and humor of its making, and the story is a distillation of the universe of martial arts movies elevated to a trance-like mastery of the material. And Academy Awards, no nominations
None,
that year.
yeah.
I'm not surprised, but I was like, really? None for
Yeah,
some of
you
the
would
stuff.
think
But
screenplay simply because
Right?
that's what
they always give them, but
Yep. All right, well, there we go. We are going to pause and rewatch the movie. If you are so inclined, go right ahead and watch along with us. Mom and Dad, you can skip this one. If not, we will see you on the other side of this break. Here now is Kill Bill, Volume 1.
You have every right to want to get even. No. To get even? Even, Stephen? I would have to kill you. Go up to Nikki's room, kill her. Then wait for your husband, the good Dr. Bell, to come home and kill him. That would be even, Vernita. That'd be about square.
Look, if I could go back in a machine, I would. But I can't. All I can tell you is that I'm a different person now.
Oh, great. I don't care.
Be that as it may, I know I don't deserve your mercy or your forgiveness. However, I beseech you for both on behalf of my daughter.
Bitch, you can stop right there. Just because I have no wish to murder you before the eyes of your daughter does not mean that parading her around in front of me is going to inspire sympathy. You and I have unfinished business, and not a goddamn fucking thing you've done in the subsequent 4 years, including getting knocked up, is going to change that.
Cool. Well, welcome back to 20 Years, 4 Beers, where we have just finished rewatching Kill Bill, Volume 1. And also have been... See, I almost said enjoyed. We have drank 4 new beers that we will review in a segment coming up. But first, as usual, we jump right into our reaction segment that we call Spotlight.
They knew, and they let it happen.
Where we highlight and discuss our top takeaways of any kind from re-watching the film. I'm guessing it'll probably be pretty positive. I don't know if you have any quibs, but...
I'm more like, where to even begin?
Yeah.
Talking about this movie. Or just kind of Tarantino in general.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'll start. Is just to say, like, nobody writes a film like Tarantino. Or nobody writes like Tarantino.
No.
And I think there's so many... Like... There's director's tropes that you can always be like, oh, Spielberg does this, or Spike Lee with the single take in front,
or Wes Anderson,
right? There's that, and Wes Anderson has his own style, so
yes,
but you could also like Wes Anderson, Alexander Payne and Wes Anderson are very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, Sorkin's got his own like super like dialogue heavy, etc. But even then, you could probably find others. I can't think of anyone really that is like who writes like Tarantino does.
No.
And the ability to jump back and forth between... I mean, he obviously has ADHD, right? Like in his real life. Like his ability to write and go back and forth between multiple storylines. Because I presume his screenplays are written this way too. I don't think he writes it out and then they chop it up and sort of divide it back. I presume there's something close to this. But yeah, he can jump back and forth between storylines. You laughed at it too, but the wiggle your toe thing after the anime scene that we'll talk about, like, and then she comes back is like, but first, wiggle your big toe. Like she's telling the story and just the through line of him being able to keep all things up in the air, he's just, nobody writes like Tarantino, to the point where every time I see a Tarantino movie, I want to go back and watch Jackie Brown. Like, I still have not.
I've never actually seen that.
I saw it once.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. And I kind of want to go back and watch it again. Just because I'm like, I mean, it's Tarantino, right?
Right.
Like, he wrote From Dusk Till Dawn. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, you just kind of go, oh.
Like, he's the rare director that I feel like is in on the joke. Mm-hmm. And not so much a joke, but I don't know if I can think of a similar type of writer-director that is so, like, invested in his style and what the audience might like, that it never feels like it's just for the art form. And, like, I think of, like, Paul Thomas Anderson. There's, like, or others, like, are super arty and, like, this is the story I want to tell.
Right.
I feel like Quentin's the rare director that's, like, truly gives a shit about what the audience is going to really, really like. I mean, he's one of the rare ones that like that.
Yeah.
But as a fan, because of what his background is. So I just think it's so hard to think about.
Yeah. Edgar Wright's the only one other I can.
Yeah, actually, that's good. Yeah, that's true.
Along those lines, that's somebody who really appreciates.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, true.
Whatever style he's writing or directing or whatever, but he still has that understanding of the audience and understanding of that these people are here to have fun.
Yes.
And not take this too seriously.
So I just think, and what a...
So I guess Edgar Wright does kind of write like Tarantino, but nobody writes like Tarantino.
Nobody does.
Nobody's got that there's just that extra level of...
There are variations of it.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely is
Excuse me,
one that you think about, like, Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
Where you can tell, okay...
Yeah, nobody says Edgar Wright-esque.
Yeah. Like, they're trying to get to his level.
Yeah.
But nothing's like his. No. And I think about maybe, was it Jackie Brown, the last movie before Kill Bill? Where you think about 6 years that he waited for movies in between. And what a bold choice to come back and be like, I'm going to release a 2-volume stylized homage to martial arts movies.
Yeah, he's only got up until this because he had Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, and that was it, I think, before this.
Yes. So his fourth movie.
It's not like, I guess I counted on my fingers. The movie literally fucking starts with the fourth Tarantino movie.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, still, it's like, that's a bold choice.
Yeah,
it's also a bold choice. Say what you will about Miramax and their founder.
Yeah.
But bold choice for Miramax, too. It's just say, like, no, we're going to give you one long movie that you can split into two.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
swing for the fences, man.
After 6 years. Yeah.
Like you take some time off and you clearly come out and you do this. So yeah, I think this is one of the rare examples I think we've had a few other throughout the time together is I really didn't want to take any notes.
I didn't have many.
I just was like, this is just
I have bullet points.
Yeah. High level points because one, a lot of subtitles. So we had that with Amelie where it's like, I can't take notes while I'm reading.
Yeah. We don't talk about Amelie.
That's true. But it was such a joy to watch this again. I probably haven't watched it, I think, at least in 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And so it was nice to come back to it for that.
I don't think I've watched them since I bought them on digital. Like, I mean,
yeah, I could see that.
Probably went on sale at some point along the way, and I was like,
sure.
I'll just buy it and watch it later.
That's good, yeah. But I agree. The key piece for Tarantino that stands out across everything else is the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
No one writes like what he does. I mean, we talked about Sorkin. He has a different type of dialogue work.
Yeah, you can tell it's a Sorkin.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
But the stylized dialogue Tarantino is. And then, yes, the interspersing that with chapters. Mm-hmm. That's the staple. At least, I mean, he shifts somewhat later in his career. It feels like
they all have chapters.
I guess I don't remember that. Oh, they do actually. Like with
they'll have some sort of part whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
they do have like the little vignettes that broken up to it.
And forth a little bit,
but
Django doesn't necessarily jump around as much.
That's like the most linear,
but yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, but there's no one that does it like him.
No,
and you're right. Like the movie ends on technically the first part of the character's journey of her revenge story,
right?
And that's kind of a crazy thought of I'm gonna have the most badass fight sequence at the end of the movie, but really it's the first part of this hero's journey.
I mean, Pulp Fiction ends with
that's true.
Them walking off, and one of them is dead. End. Like you're just kind of like, wait, what?
How did that happen?
They walk off into the sunset, but one of them that's before a character's death.
It's after,
what
he plays with that so well. So yeah, I think that when we were coming to this year, looking at what we were going to watch, I was like, oh yeah, I'm very stoked.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll talk more next year about the quality of movies in this time. You know, around this time, we're definitely lacking, I think. But Kill Bill was one that we were like, yep, it's an easy yes. I'm gonna rarely do we talk about sound design.
Yeah.
But well, number one, I love a lot of his movies definitely have like old school feel to them.
Yeah.
And this is out of its way, like with the plane and like the, and the
our feature presentation,
right? The beginning and kind of goes out of its way to be quirky in that way. But I remember immediately thinking because early on she fights Vivica A. Fox's character.
Yep.
And like it's the fake punching. Like I've never been in a fight.
No.
Or, you know what I mean? But I know punches don't sound like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I know it's film, but this is like over the top. And I can't remember what movie it was. There was one where we complained about the sound design that everything sounded really fake.
Yeah.
But that wasn't supposed to be. This is like, it was a conscious choice of like the over the top punches and the kicks and the sword clings all over the place. All of the sound effects involved from the cereal, the chains dropping is just like over the top.
Yep.
And like heels on the floor, whatever it is, people running into the room, like it is
people
just
screaming.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the motorcycles coming in or whatever. Like That's such a conscious choice to say, if you look back at the old Kung Fu movies and Kung Fu TV show and that kind of stuff, I guarantee you, and neither of us grew up with those shows.
No.
But like, I guarantee you it would be that kind of sound design.
Yes.
And it's such that feel of, because if it weren't that, if it were super realized and super like normal,
Yeah.
it would be like, this is not what he set out, obviously, to have an homage to these sort of old, things like these old shows and stuff. You would have to have this ridiculous, otherwise you go, this is too real.
Yes.
Or the blood splatter all over the place. Like, again, I've
gosh.
never witnessed an arm or a head being cut off, but I pretty much can guarantee you it doesn't do what it does in movies like this. Like,
yes.
But they do it over the top, and I like that.
Well, that's what I think about the bold choice of,
Bold
you think of, Reservoir Dogs
Mhm.
and then Pulp Fiction, and not having seen Jackie Brown, but it's probably a variation in many ways of, while it's stylized, it's grounded and very real in terms of the vibe it's going for.
Especially Reservoir Dogs.
Yes. And then this comes out, and from the beginning,
Yeah.
you can tell, this is a different feel.
Yeah.
It's Tarantino, but it is, yes, when the fight sequence begins, because the opening shot is her getting shot in the head.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's pretty jarring,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel different in many ways. It's still stylized. And then she goes and fights Vivica A. Fox. And yeah, it is way over the top.
Mhm.
Sound and the fight sequence. And then the daughter walks in.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, baby, how you doing? Oh, that damn dog of yours got, like, it is so
Acted a fool.
upped everything around it. Yeah, the cereal box, kaboom. Like, it's all these, again, when I say Tarantino's like in on it, it's all these winks and somewhat nods to the audience of, this is not the typical type of experience that you might have had before.
The production design, you mentioned it too, with the samurai sword holders on the plane.
Yes.
Yeah,
there's a plane like to and from Japan.
Arrow.
Yeah, little like samurai holders next to them post 9/11. That's not a thing, but it doesn't matter because it's over the top. Yes, I love it. Yeah, every aspect of it, and this is where I think it's the attention to detail of Tarantino, where he is so exacting with the choices and what he wants to focus on for the audience enjoyment. But I remember being in the theater and just being completely blown away by this movie.
Yeah, because actually I had never seen, this was my first Tarantino movie in the theater.
True. Yeah, me too. Yep.
And because obviously Pulp Fiction and stuff didn't.
Yeah.
And I was 11 at the time.
Yeah.
Or it was 95, right?
Yeah,
So
95.
I was
94.
16. But
yeah.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, I didn't see those.
No.
But to see this in the theater was like, oh man, this is something special.
The challenge I have in some ways was, we talked at length offline before, it was like, it's tough to somewhat judge a movie that we know is part of a sequel or a sequence. Like, where you think about, I like actually the fact it's like Kill Bill Volume 1. So you went in knowing this is the first part of something. Because until you have the full experience of it, can you necessarily judge it? But what I always liked about this was, and I think of like Dune Part 1 or others where you know what you're getting into. And so I kind of can somewhat judge it or
if they do it
critique
well.
it if it's well. And I think this is the rare example of a movie that is so self-encapsulated, and yet I am so excited to watch the next one next year because it is, and we'll talk about somewhat in the happy hour with Reloaded and Revolutions, where that was well designed to be a 2-part sequence. This is, I think, one of the best versions of that, where you can enjoy the movie unto itself.
Yeah.
And when we watched the second, I remember so much of it tonally being very different.
Yeah.
This was much more like the martial arts, where I feel like the second one was much more like a Westerns and that kind of thing. So I love that it ends on a note that is great, but also when Bill says, does she know her daughter's alive?
Yeah.
How do you end that and go, I have to wait 4 or 5 months for this?
Yeah.
Are you insane?
It's a great ending with, you don't see it coming.
No.
It's not, which again, we'll talk about the ending of Matrix Reloaded and seeing things coming. But it is, there are recent examples of really good movies that are part ones of 2.
Yep.
Just this year, we had 2 of them. Because you've got Spider-Man and Mission Impossible both had part 1s for films.
Yep.
Both claim to be coming out next year. They won't. They're
No.
coming out in 2025. Although I think they actually did delay Mission Impossible officially.
Yeah. I
But
saw
anyway,
that. Yeah.
that can be on their own, and you don't feel mad that there's
Or like It.
chapter 1 and 2.
yes.
Yep. There are some good recent examples of this. But yeah, this is good. It's because she succeeds at killing 2 people on this list I don't have these battles and then nothing comes from them. Like maybe she had fought a few of them and then they live and then all the deaths are pushed back to the next movie and you're like, it would feel very, you wouldn't have any kind of deliver on the expectation of this, but this is like, it delivers on those. You get what you want. You get a little bit of a teaser for the next one, and you're like, oh, okay. And the daughter thing is like, that's just a perfect way to end it.
Yeah, from an audience standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, I remember it being just, what?
Yeah, but you weren't like mad about it. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like, and they didn't like end it on the cliffhanger where maybe she was dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a second
really?
one.
I know. We know she's not gonna. Yeah.
Dead. Like, I mean,
there's no peril. Yeah.
Right. Now you go, because would this stylistically work if it were the same style movie for another 2 hours?
No.
Like a year later. You know what I mean? Like it's really, they go out of their way to make 2 very different styles of movies and different understanding. And now you're like, it's not just revenge.
Yep.
She doesn't know it yet. It's also about her daughter. And so that's kind of one of those, could I sit through another 2 hours of this? Well, now I can, because now there's another layer that I didn't know going into this.
It transcends from just a revenge flick, which is well warranted with what we've seen.
Yeah.
But now it's the element of she has no idea what she's really getting into with her revenge and what.
When did she find out?
Oh.
David Carradine does such a good job as just the voice in this.
Yes, this ominous presence. Yes.
But also like, I know you're an a-hole here, dude. Like, yeah.
Yeah, the beginning when he's like, this is my most masochistic. Yeah, he's so good from a voice, like very, like not robotic, but you can tell like he has masterful control over this group.
Yep.
By just a tiny bit of language. So, I think we talked about before, the sequence where she leaves the hospital and then right in the middle of her having, this situation of trying to will her limbs back into usefulness, that's cut to a 20-minute sequence of anime of an origin story that would be so unbelievably hard to see live.
Yeah.
Like it works because it's anime.
Yeah.
Hence, again, over the top. But that sequence, I remember still thinking it when I saw it. Also now I was like, man, again, Tarantino swinging for the fences. Like we're going to combine styles. It's not just martial arts. It's, or live action stuff. It's going to be this insanely over the top anime sequence.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
And it sticks with you, man.
Right?
Like, I don't love anime, and we obviously have our feeling, and it's not anime, but we have our feeling on Spirited Away and other Japanese animation. But God, man, that visually speaking just sticks with you.
Yeah.
Because like neither one of us has seen this in 5-6 years or whatever.
No.
And the moment that starts, and we know it's coming because we remember it. But the visuals of it, like the blood splatter all over her and like the shadow on the wall.
Right?
Yeah. Blood.
Yeah, exactly.
And the dripping from the bed. And there's just things that you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. I mean, it's so cool. And they never would have been able to get away with it, at least to that level.
Yeah.
In live action.
No.
Like too much blood there was already plenty of blood anyway in this, but even then, there isn't as much blood as one would assume in this movie. If you take the anime sequence out, but
correct,
sort of real blood, you've got some limbs coming off and things like that, and there is a lot of blood. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when you say Tarantino and martial arts and that kind of stuff, you think like the Shining elevator worth of blood, like all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah, pouring everywhere.
Right. No, the anime scene for me is unreal. It's for me the anime scene, that and the choice of going to black and white in the Crazy 88 scene. Those two choices separate this from a style standpoint of just like it is a kid in the candy store. Miramax gives me carte blanche, whatever, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And to pull out the stops and say, that's like 3 cliches in one sentence. But like to pull out the stops and say, we're going to bring anime into this. We're going to do black and white. We're going to do the blue in the background.
Yep.
There's just various sort of tropes, I guess, and of film, and it's going to work so well, seamlessly back and forth. Like it's so like, but the anime scene to me is like, and these are different, but it always reminds me of, or the reverse reminded me of Harry Potter 7.1. With the Deathly Hallows.
The Deathly Hallows sequence.
Like
explaining
that. It explains it away, and it does it in such a way because it's like we're flipping styles almost makes you pay attention to it more or something like that. But that animation in Harry Potter, same thing. Like that stands out the most, and that will be what it's remembered for in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And this is remembered for other things because of Tarantino, but like that animation, to jump to animation is like, boy, that it was so jarring at the time. You're like, wait, what? And it's right away. It's like in the first 30 minutes. So like it's all of a sudden.
I think it was like 20 minutes in, and all of a sudden, and I think that's what Tarantino in some ways was probably like for an audience, like this is what you signed up for. We're going to go right into this where it's enjoyable to start and really interesting. And then it always felt like a crazy tonal shift.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is
dark.
Exactly.
Yep.
Terrible for this story. And that's what I love about all these things is like these origin story elements for some of these characters you see about is like, the trauma that's experienced and what that leads to and what can be capitalized with Oranishi of, oh, she became the like kingpin in Japan.
Yeah.
And just, yes. So I just think I didn't forget about the sequence, but I forgot how early it is.
Yeah.
Where it is just, we're swinging for the fences with this.
You ever notice that when Lucy Liu talks, it looks like her mouth is sometimes fake? I don't know, it looks like it's plastic surgery or whatever it is. She does a really good job in this. I mean, everyone does, but
yes.
I was always like, when she talks, like, did they digitally enhance her mouth or something like that? It's just weird.
It doesn't move very much.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
No, she's good.
So, should we talk about Uma Thurman?
Sure. Oprah. Uma.
Keanu. She's a well-known presence now, and she was like always a solid actress, I think, prior to this. I mean, clearly,
her career needed a boost.
Yeah, like it was kind of like she
had a run of struggling movies, so yeah.
And I still think this was one of like probably the best role she's ever done, where everything she does, action wise, I mean, she clearly holds her own with the sequences and the fight sequences, but how she's able to ground it and her emotion, it isn't just, I don't know, like I'm an action movie. It is the weight of everything she's doing and how she's able to convey it. And it's so hard to encapsulate it, even more so than I think in the second one where it comes out more. I just wrote Uma Thurman, man. Just she's unreal in this, and I don't know that she's necessarily even that great after this movie. Like this feels like the pinnacle in many ways of starring vehicle. She kills it, no pun intended, in everything she does with this movie. But she's fantastic.
Yeah,
and this is where I'm like, I can see why Quentin would be like, hey, let's work together on this.
Well, they technically, she shares a partial writing credit.
Yeah, it's like the character of the bride created by Q and U or whatever. So I think she is, not that I think somebody else couldn't do this, but it's like I don't know that I could see anybody else doing it.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Like how much she embodies this character.
Yeah.
And the way she carries the dialogue and delivers it, and she's kind in some ways and yet ruthless in some of the others. Anyway, I just think, she carries this movie.
Well,
so good.
yeah. I mean, she's the best part about the movie for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know everyone's good in this, so to carry it is kind of like,
implies
I see what you're
others.
saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
I could see.
I had to double check because she was, like it or not, she was up for a BAFTA that year for this role.
Oh, really?
And she's
I do like that.
outstanding in this.
I like it. Yeah.
Like it's, and I think really what it is because when she speaks in this, she's good. She's very good.
Yeah.
But really it's the sort of the unspoken stuff that she brings to it that you're like, oh yeah, there's these depths to her sort of anger that it's not just you killed my baby.
Yeah.
Then obviously my future husband or husband at the time or whatever, like spare a thought. But she just has all this unspoken stuff. And then I said it when we were talking about it, that, they delayed filming of this so that she can have her kid, who we assume is Maya Hawke. I would assume so at this time.
Yeah,
she's like
20.
23, right? I mean, but to have that sort of now, hey, you just had this baby. Now you're going to wake up from a coma after losing your baby action.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, act.
It might be easy to do that, but it might be easy to get the emotion, but to be willing to do that and have that, like,
it's a long take too.
Yeah, she's really good in this. Like, there's no doubt about it.
And like when she flies to Japan to get the sword, and she comes in as like, I'm the cute American coming in. Like, oh my gosh, she plays that so well to kind of ingratiate herself, and then I
love when they start fighting when he grabs a finger and then she ducks under the arm.
Yeah, the choreography is so great for this. And like you could see her being able to like just get into other places because she's so beautiful and just unassuming. And then when it shifts of like, I'm here for a sword.
Yeah.
And just, it turns.
Yeah.
That now you can see, here's how she would be able to turn that on a dime.
Yep.
She's great. She's so good in this.
Yep.
Let's talk about the Crazy 88's fight sequence.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you mentioned the black and white, and we'll talk about a little bit maybe in the Matrix movies, but we have our hero up against
heroine.
Sure. True. I like that. Up against a seemingly insurmountable number of antagonists. And what works for this is the vulnerability in terms of she comes in on a mission and she lays waste to Oronishi's first group and kills that girl that's kind of like with the swinging ball or whatever. And
Guru or whatever.
Yeah, it's like she's been wounded and you can see like, she is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then, the Crazy 88s show up. And it's a room full of people she's got to kill off. And that sequence is one of, I think, the best fight sequences I've ever seen.
Sure. Yeah, from a choreography standpoint.
Right?
For sure. Yeah.
And the weight of it, and I mean, the challenges, again, we talk about, like, she lives.
Yeah.
Because it's the first kill. So, like, okay, that's but that's what I think what's great about it is, like, she lives, and yet it is not perilous, but so well done.
Right.
That when she's slowly wearing down from this effort, it does feel like there's tension. And how is she going to get through all this? Whereas, again, the Matrix doesn't feel that way at all, as we talk about the happy hour. But I think that sequence, and yes, you're right, when it shifts to the black and white, and then the blue, and it's just a backdrop of the silhouettes.
Yeah.
To me, I remember being in the theater, like, this movie is just up and up in terms of how great it is.
Yeah, but I like, too, just going off of that, like, then the final battle in the movie is actually goes the opposite direction.
Far more
it's
intimate.
Much more intimate. They don't try and one up themselves. It's like, no, she just did the the impressive part.
Yes.
Now she's just got to finish it off.
Yes.
Yeah, it does, and and they nail it every time. They also don't try things and fail.
Yes.
Like they succeed at what they're working on. Every time they try something new, it's like, yep, it works.
And that's what I think shows, again, the character stuff that Anime Sequence, Oren Ishii, on her own, killed. And then as she became more powerful and took over, you would realize she would not be doing this on her own anymore.
Right.
She'd have her minions working for her and doing these things.
Yep.
Which is why I think it's so amazing that final fight sequence is just silent. And there's some good music they add into it, kind of like to ramp it up. But it's just in a like snow-covered garden.
Yeah.
And the two of them as, you know, we're going to fight this out. Because Oren thinks there's no way she's going to get to me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And now she has. And she never ever expresses like some level of worry about that.
Right.
Until like she gets cut.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to apologize.
Yes.
For this that I, disparaged you before. And I just think that dynamic is really awesome to watch, where she's going to die. But the manner in which it dies, you're right. A lesser movie would have been she throws herself into the mix at the end and she's in there and like fighting. It's just like, no, I'm the kingpin in this area. You'll come to me if you somehow get through this.
Right.
And it's just a one-on-one battle, and it's like a couple minutes long, and then boom. And the sword works.
She does stick around for those first sort of 10.
Yes. Because she's like,
stands up there.
We killed this. 5 of us killed this woman.
Yeah, we have no problem. And then can't handle it. And then 88 other people come in or whatever it is. And then she's like, then she goes off and like, let these people try. I'm going to throw everything I got at her. And then if she comes through, then maybe she'll come through and see what happens there.
And we talked about before, like, we haven't been in a fight.
Nope.
Nor have we been in a fight with 88 people.
No.
But I've always wondered about these things where they have a massive army of some sort against a tiny number of one. And I'm like, really? Is it that hard? Like, you just attack it once and kill. But I don't think I can think of a movie that does what this does, where she has the sword in front of her as like a defense mechanism, but then is using it as a mirror.
Oh, yeah.
To watch behind her.
Right.
And I remember that detail and I still love it.
Yeah.
Where she is there ready to fight, but also is so smart with how she does it that I love that little detail. So that way it doesn't fall in the trope of like, just all attack at once. It's like she could see them coming no matter where it goes. So I think that Crazy 88 sequence is unreal.
Good. So well done.
Unreal.
Yep. What do you got? I'm about done.
I have one last thing.
Yeah.
I always have thought, I know Tarantino said he has like 10 movies he's going to do, so he's got one more left or whatever it is. But I think that's so cool to think about in the beginning when the bride kills off, I forget her name, the Vivica A. Fox's character, and talks to Nikki, the daughter.
Yeah.
And said, like, if you still feel raw about this later in life, I'll be waiting for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's ever a thought in Tarantino's mind of a story of that character.
Sure.
Because every other kind of element in this movie has a similar type of origin thing of parents being killed off and a revenge cycle. And what could that look like?
Yeah.
And Tarantino, an aging bride, as we see in the volume 2 with her daughter, like all these things, and some normalcy has come up, and then out of nowhere comes a revenge cycle. And then how does that, anyway, it's probably not something he's interested in because it's like, whatever. But I've always wondered about that. Like, how cool could it be in his hands to have like a cycle of this continuing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious if he ever actually follows through on only stopping at 10.
I'd be shocked. He'll have some inspiration and be like, I need 11.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go with dozen
or
maybe,
whatever. Yeah.
Anyway,
kill Beatrix. Oh, shit. Spoiler.
It was, which that point is so great. So that, like, we don't find out her name until the second movie, but the crazy choice of people say her name, but it's bleeped out.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, Bill says her last name.
Sure.
But, we don't know that. We just assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like a hint of like tricks are for kids. But anyway, so I just think, again, Tarantino be like, I can do whatever I want with this. I'm going to bleep out the main character's name.
Yeah, right away, too.
Yes.
Like, Well,
I remember in the theater, like, is this something?
this
What's
is weird.
happening?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tarantino, man. It's a rare time that it's a rare thing to have a guy make 9 at worst
Yeah.
okay movies.
Yes.
I mean, when Jackie Brown is your worst movie and it was still well thought of by other people,
Yes.
you're like, okay, pretty solid. And for this, really good. And yet, potentially not even a top 5 Tarantino movie if you want to argue it. Like, if you want to really look at him.
That'd be an interesting discussion of like what
You're going to tell me,
rank.
right? You're going to tell me this is better than Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds, obviously not, Django Unchained. Like, that's 4
I
right
don't
there.
know if I'd say better, but he's such a
Yeah, but you got to
different.
rank them. I know they're all very different, but let's say you had to rank.
Inglourious Bastards number 1.
Oh, duh. It's his masterpiece, in my opinion.
Pulp Fiction number 2.
Yeah. Reservoir Dogs is great. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is outstanding.
I'd probably put that. I don't know, but that's a different like.
They're
You
all
have
different, but you got to rank
But you
them.
have to know the like legacy of what really happened.
I know, but I'm just saying, you got to rank them.
I would
You know what I
say, whew, man. I'd probably put Kill Bill at number 3. Yeah.
See, and I definitely wouldn't.
Well, can I combine them? Because they're kind of an overall
No,
experience.
He doesn't combine them.
I'd say Kill Bill 2.
He considers them 2 separate movies.
I'd
so-
say
so do
Volume
we.
2 over 1. We'll
Really?
talk about next year.
I guess we'll have
Yes.
to find out next year.
I think the emotional impact of the end of the movie of Volume 2
Yeah, the style
overlays.
of 1 definitely is great. But
2 is like 1A to 1B or 3A to 3B. But yeah,
Man.
I'd watch this anytime over Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, rewatchability and
Yeah.
best are 2 different
Sure, but I think
things. 'Cause-
no,
Sure they are.
God, I know, but it's so good.
Rewatchable is I would rewatch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over
Sure,
Spider-Man.
I know, but like
And you're like, because it's more rewatchable.
I say Django is number 4 for me. 5 is Reservoir. And then Once Upon a Time.
Mhm.
And then Hateful Eight. And then I haven't seen Jackie Brown. So
Yeah.
by default that falls
Yeah.
to the bottom. But
Yeah, but it would be at the bottom anyway. But-
yeah. That's a good but again, the style, like they're all his, clearly.
Yeah. No, I know.
But the
I understand.
styles.
So,
Oh man.
but that's how good this movie is in that it belongs up in the conversation.
Yeah.
But it also is it's very much like, how good are you as a director when you potentially have, in my opinion, there are 4 better movies in this and
Sure.
arguably 5. And
Sure.
so, yeah, if you combine them, it would be 3
Sure.
for sure. It's not ahead of Pulp Fiction or Inglourious Basterds. I
No,
get that.
I
But like,
agree.
of course, if you combine them, but we're not combining them, and because Tarantino doesn't combine them, so I don't want to hear it.
Do you want to
Like,
hear it? Because
he-
like more like the movie
he-
studio couldn't release like a 4-hour
I don't
movie,
care.
but
He combines.
all right.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. As we close out our spotlight segment, we come to our final takes called The Verdict.
I'm going up there. I'm going to try it. I'm going to let the jury decide.
This is where Tim and I give our final verdicts after rewatching the film and decide whether or not the movie held up over the course of 2 decades. I'll go first.
Okay.
My verdict. To me, what is so impressive about this film, or I guess actually what is so impressive is that Kill Bill Volume 1, is a legitimately great film, yet would perhaps not crack the top 5 of Tarantino's filmography. It depends on how you argue it. But Kill Bill Volume 1 is exactly what you would want from the first of a 2-part film split. It functions on its own as a film, but also sets up the second, in fact, potentially enhances the second from a story standpoint, without a forced cliffhanger or annoying cut in the story. There are other examples of films that are 2-part films that do not work. Possible spoiler for our happy hour. But this is not one of them. Perhaps a bit stylized for some people's tastes, because this is definitely the most stylized, probably, film of all of them, of Tarantino's. But for me, it is just a kid in the candy store style of film. A director and a writer who has been given just an open checkbook, however he wants to make a film, and they're going to make it work. And you just imagine him laughing and giddily just enjoying himself the entire time. You would potentially argue this is the film he had the most fun on in terms of what you see on screen. This is Tarantino at his giddy best. I have 4.5 out of 5 on this one.
Nice. There's got to be times she's like, I can't believe they're letting me do this.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe
he's behind
this.
the camera just laughing the whole time.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most perfect distillation of Tarantino's movie rental store background and his clear love of obscure and unknown films.
Yeah.
Kill Bill Volume 1 is definitely not for the casual movie fan, nor as a first entrance into the world of Tarantino.
No.
Combining revenge, action, humor, heart, anime, subtitles, and copious blood, and amping everything up to be pretty much over the top in almost every way, yet grounded with a moving performance from an all-time great, Uma Thurman. Volume 1 weaves so many interesting pieces and moves you around, confuses you but engages you, and makes one excited for the second part. The film is just effing bonkers and crazy fun. 4.5 out of 5 for me too.
Nice. All right. Well, with our reactions to the movie out of the way, we move on to our reactions to our beers that we drank while rewatching the movie. So that brings us to our beer reaction segment that we affectionately call Drinking Buddies, the sequel.
Let's get weird.
Where we take a look back at our beers and give our expert ratings. Tim, bring us back through.
First one we had was Odell Brewing, their Harvest Fresh IPA, limited release IPA. It wasn't for me like as fresh as like kind of true fresh you can get. Like it just was, canned yesterday kind of thing. But for mass production, it was pretty good. 3.75 out of 5 for me.
I definitely agree. You can tell it was mass produced.
Yeah.
And I do think fresh hops, as much as we look out for them, I'm going to start. I think we need to start looking local for fresh hops.
Yeah.
Like if it's produced
like
from
super
out of
local
state,
source.
it's like it's come too far.
Yes.
Yeah, it was drinkable but average to me. I had 3. I guess I'm gonna go 3.5. I had a 3.25, but it was kind of downhill from here for me. So we'll go 3.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. So then we had. Oh wow.
Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. I believe this is the worst beer night we've ever had.
It definitely was we have stuff in our fridge and we haven't had it before.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
These are new.
And they're new.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll give it a shot. Then we had Dangerous Man, their Strawberry Sour. So straw and pears. It was a 4 for me. Actually, I liked it. It was very mellow.
Sure.
For a sour, was not very tart. I actually kind of like the flavor of the strawberry and the pear together. It blended well enough together for me. So yeah, I liked it. What say you, good sir?
I had a 3 out of 5. I do not like I didn't like it. It's not that the combination was bad. I actually wanted more flavor out of it. I wanted more. Like, I didn't catch much of the pear, and pear is easily one of my favorite fruits, but pear is a hard fruit to have as a flavor. Like,
if it's not like a cider or something like that, yeah.
I was saying, so it didn't quite work with the strawberry, because strawberry is so overpowering. Like
I think like Strawberry Fields or whatever from Indeed, and that's like super tart and like
right. I needed more of that, so it was too muted from a flavor standpoint. It's not poorly made or anything like that. It just wasn't enough flavor for me. So I had 3 out of 5, and I did not. Boy, I don't like the term mouthfeel as we've discussed, but it just did not. I was like, there's nothing to this. Yeah.
You wanted more soury. I
wanted more. Yeah. If it's a sour, I'm like, come on. I wanted more. I wanted more of a tartness. It was damn near almost like a strawberry. We've had strawberry IPAs in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was almost kind of like too much like to that level. Sure. I wanted like more on the sour side. It was definitely mass-produced sour, too. Like, Dangerous Man isn't huge, but it was a larger batch and not local. Or not smaller, excuse me.
So then it was Earth Rider out of Superior, Wisconsin.
Inferior, Wisconsin? Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
Depends on that.
Yeah. Depends on what you thought of the beer.
The emphasis.
Yeah.
The Duluth Coffee Pale Ale. We've had coffee golden ales before.
Yeah. The Coffin Dodger and
and coffee stouts. I've never had a coffee pale ale before. I must say I liked it, but I don't think I'm going to seek out that style again.
Yeah, based on this beer, I will never have another one again.
It's a 3.5 for me. It was very coffee. Like, in terms of the you could smell it.
Smell was
a mile
super
away.
coffee, absolutely.
Again, it's a weird thing of I enjoyed having it because of the coffee, but you could tell it's a pale ale, like with the hops for me. Like there was a bite to it. It wasn't very smooth. So I don't know what to do with this. I'm happy I have it, but if it's a coffee pale ale in the future, I'm not going to seek it out.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm glad you did. I don't know if I'm in a bad mood tonight or what, but I have a 2.75 out of 5. This is one of the worst beers I've ever had in terms of on this podcast. The pale ale was it wasn't there. The mixture was not good. The smell was there, but it tasted like old coffee grounds. Like it had that sort of like dirt flavor to it, and and I drink coffee every damn day.
Yeah,
so
I like me some coffee,
right? Yeah. And a lot of it, and I don't know, it just did not work for me. Like I have no interest in ever trying a coffee pale ale again. Because of this. Yeah, I don't like it at all.
Trying it out.
Yeah,
I love it.
I almost went lower. Like I was like, this is not. I dumped. I dumped half of mine.
Oh,
I was like, I couldn't do it.
I think I'm done.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
Wow. And then we had.
But again, it wasn't that it was nice. It wasn't that it was poorly made. So just so we're clear, I might not have liked it.
It's a
there's a basement level that I will go, and as long as it's not.
You're
like
very
it was
generous. 2.75. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there are ones that you try and you're like, this is poorly made and I'm not giving this a good rating. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. I have one of those in my happy hour. But then we had Central Waters. There's Satin Solitude Imperial Stout. I am biased, so I'm curious to see your thought. Biased in a way of you can get a 6-pack for like $10.
Sure.
So I like the Imperial Stout
cheap
nature
in price
of it.
And cheap in flavor. You got it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's a 3.75 for me. It's a nice one. I like this time of year and I enjoy it. So
this was the second best beer of the night for me though.
Hey.
So I have 3.25.
All right.
I finished it.
You did.
But it was like, okay. Like there was nothing. And you would think with how much I didn't like the 2 beers prior.
Yeah.
If it was at all a good stout, I'd have been like, oh man, this I know. It's like I previously just ate shit and now I'm eating like a glorious burger like from McDonald's and it would be like the greatest thing ever. It was fine. There wasn't I was like, as a base stout, if that were their base stout, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. But it needed, I don't know, some barrel aging or something. But yeah, I don't think I've been in a bad mood tonight. I really enjoyed this.
No, it was great.
And we had a good dinner or whatever. But boy, did I not like any of these beers. So there we go.
There we are.
Our final segment of the episode is Quiz Show.
The exciting quiz program, 21.
Where in our research for the film, we find some interesting trivia nuggets that we hope will stump the other and possibly intrigue you, our dear listeners. I do have a couple.
I have 4.
Hello. Well, somebody did research because I came up with 2 during the movie. So.
Oh, good for you.
I'm so pissed about these beers. I'm going to get this goddamn trivia figured out.
I was busy this week with work, like really busy this week with work. And so, but I was editing Truman Show out now. And like, that's when I kind of looked, but I did not do any quiz show. I was like, I'll figure it out.
Oh,
so I got
figure it
to.
out. That's nice.
Go ahead, Tim.
So Lucy Liu plays Oranishi. Has had a strong career over the past 25 years, but after some small roles in The X-Files, ER, and Jerry Maguire, she arguably had her breakout role in what 1999 crime noir starring Mel Gibson, which was also directed, the debut, of Brian Helgeland, who we've talked about with his screenplay for LA Confidential and second film, A Knight's Tale.
Payback.
Nice.
I will die on a hill for that movie.
I saw them like, oh, I gotta ask this because Steve, I think he's gonna know it. Yep.
Well, especially because that's the rare time. Do not watch the director's cut.
Ooh.
They are fundamentally different films. The original is actually, you haven't seen it, have you?
I have not.
The original cut is they're both good. Don't get me wrong. but they're so fundamentally different. They're like, I mean, and when I tell you they're different movies, they are like different movies. It's really weird. So watch the original first and then watch the director's cut just so you can kind of get the difference.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I love Payback.
Payback. Nice.
All right.
Nice work.
So David Carradine would seem like a natural choice to play Bill, considering his past in martial arts films and television, and Tarantino's desire to offer roles to actors who have been out of the spotlight for a while.
Mm-hmm.
However, the role was actually offered to other actors, such as Kevin Costner, as we discussed in our Open Range podcast, Jack Nicholson, Kurt Russell, and Burt Reynolds. It was also offered to another actor in need of a career renaissance at that time, a man who would get that resurgence in a classic 2005 graphic novel film and would go on to be nominated for his first and only Oscar later in 2008. Can you name that actor?
Oh my God. Original? I always thought, okay. I always thought like David Carradine was the guy.
We talked about this in Open Range.
Sure. Sorry. I should like
Kevin Costner.
As you work through it, but like we wrote for Carradine.
Yeah. Those other guys turned down the role. Not to say that they didn't offer Carradine at the same time necessarily, but according to my extensive research, yeah. So
2008?
Graphic novel film in 2005 and 2008 Best Actor nominee. I think should have won, but he did lose to Sean Penn.
Okay. I can see his stupid face.
Which one? Because he's had a lot
so
of classic.
Exactly. It was Sin City. Mickey Rourke.
Yes.
Because it was the wrestler. Nice.
And like Sean Penn's
Really?
great in Milk, but like Mickey Rourke, I really thought should have won for the wrestler. But yeah.
Wow. I had no idea. I thought.
Mickey Rourke would have worked for this movie actually. Of all the if you were to say Kevin Costner, Jack Nicholson, Kurt Russell, although Kurt Russell might have worked in this too.
It could have.
And Burt Reynolds. Like, I mean, I can't see anyone in it besides David Carradine now, but I think Mickey Rourke could have actually worked pretty well.
Although he'd be like too close, like the Michael Madsen.
Maybe.
As like the other guy here.
But
like
at that
maybe.
time, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Either way.
I like that. So we waxed poetic a bit about our affinity for Uma Thurman in this and how great she is.
Mm-hmm.
In her career, she's only been nominated for one Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1994 film?
Pulp Fiction.
There you go. Yeah. Which she's really good in that.
Oh my gosh.
The small role she has, but
yeah.
Oh man.
She does do the square in Pulp
She does.
Fiction. And then she does it in
they
this
draw
with
it
one
out in this.
hand.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that little callback.
Wink, wink.
So Kill Bill Volume 1 is actually not the first time that Uma Thurman and Vivica A. Fox have been in the same film. 6 years prior to this movie, the two shared the screen in what Joel Schumacher directed film.
Oh my gosh, Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, Uma Thurman is
Poison
Ivy,
yeah.
but Vivica Fox in it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, her character is Miss B. Haven.
Oh my god.
And she's in it. She's got lines and stuff like that. But yeah, she is.
God,
what a terrible movie.
It's so bad.
Ugh.
That's a good callback.
Thank you.
I didn't realize that. That's nice. So Daryl Hannah rose to fame in the 80s and 90s. So she's in
Splash! I win!
No, done.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in this a little bit as Elle Driver.
Yep.
In the early 90s in prominent roles in Blade Runner, Splash, as you said, Wall Street, and Still Magnolias. And like you mentioned before with the actor Clue, similar to others working with Tarantino.
Oh, damn. I thought, okay.
She's somewhat reemerged in Kill Bill Volume 1 after having fizzled out throughout the 90s. Prior to Kill Bill Volume 1, 10 years prior, arguably her last quote-unquote popular movie was co-starring in what?
Yeah. Grumpy Old Men.
Minnesota State Comedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anytime you can bring up Grumpy Old Men.
I saw it.
Man.
I'm bringing it in, baby.
It. God,
yes.
I love that movie.
It's so good. It's like one of the classic, great comedies.
Oh, God, I love that movie.
Gosh,
Burgess Meredith, that movie, too, is so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Although, I love Grumpy Old Men 2.
Grumpier
Old Men, excuse me. Yeah. When Burgess Meredith says, like, when the kid swallows the quarter and he's like, it's all right, but if she craps 2 dimes at a nickel, you should be worried. I love that.
He's so
it's
good.
It's in the cutscenes, but still. I love it.
All right, last trivia for you. Michael Bowen, a man in this movie. plays Buck.
Yeah.
The hospital orderly who likes to, do horrible
Yeah.
things. He's a recognizable character actor that often when you see him, you're thinking, hey, it's that guy. I've seen him stuff. But one role which stands out is playing the overbearing father to one of the main characters in 1999 sprawling drama, which, much like Tarantino, was released by one of our favorite writer-directors.
Oh, yeah, it's Magnolia.
Yes. Stanley Spector's dad.
Yep.
Yes.
There you go. All right, that'll bring us to the end of the episode. Stay tuned for our upcoming happy hour, where we cover 2 films at once for the first time ever in the Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. Watch out also for future episodes on Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, and In America. Be sure to find all of our previous episodes on your favorite streaming platform. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. If you are so inclined, please click the support link in our bio and or on our sites and consider supporting us in other ways. The metaverse of Facebook, Instagram, and Threads are where we currently live, along with 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Spare a thought for what dysentery. He obviously has ADHD.
I had to wait 4 or 5 months for this? Are you insane?
Grumpy Old Men.
Minnesota Set Comedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The shining elevator worth of blood. Yeah, and the